What if you've been listening to Kendrick Lamar's Damn Wrong?
Welcome to Rhyme and Reason. Today we're unpacking the philosophy of an album that might be a perfect loop.
Okay, so let's get right into this. There's a structural riddle in Damn that has, it's really fueled years of intense discussion.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just fans, but critics, academics. Everyone's trying to understand Kendrick's actual intent here.
Because on the surface, the album is, well, it's a collection of these incredible searing tracks.
Yeah.
But I think its true genius is in the architecture.
The architecture, yeah. We have these two very distinct paths through the exact same material.
Let's start with the official track list. The one you hear first, it starts with Blood, and it ends with Duckworth.
Right. And that forward sequence, it builds this narrative of, escalating moral conflict. It moves through judgment, sin, fear.
And it culminates in this radical story of redemption, of life being preserved.
Which is Duckworth. That track is the absolute narrative climax.
Exactly. It's the true story of how Anthony Top Dog Tiffith, who eventually found Top Dog Entertainment, chose not to harm Kendrick's father.
Ducky, right. During a planned robbery at a KFC.
And that single decision, that one moment of restraint, is what allowed Kendrick Lamar to be born and to live.
So when you listen to it that way, the forward direction seems to make a case for escaping fatalism.
Right. The tragedy is avoided. It suggests that destiny was sort of broken by a human choice.
And here's the critical twist, right? The album starts with blood. It starts with Kendrick being shot by this blind woman.
So even though his past was saved, the final narrative twist suggests his present is still predetermined to end in death. It's like the cycle just reasserts itself.
Which brings us to that alternate path.
And the clue is right there, hidden in the last moments of Duckworth. The line is, we have put it in reverse.
And if you actually follow that instruction, if you play the album backwards starting from Duckworth, well, the whole context just shifts.
Completely. The story of survival and choice, it's no longer the end. It becomes the beginning of a doomed journey.
You start with life being saved, and then you just descend through all the moral conflict, the humility, the lust, the fear.
All the way back to what is now the end track, which is blood, and that fatal gunshot.
And that reversal, it suggests that even a path of choice and survival, it just circles right back to the start, back to violence and death.
It really emphasizes the cyclical nature of his reality and I think the societal traps he's talking about.
This is the key to the album's argument. It's the philosophical foundation for the whole record. Are we wicked or are we weak?
And maybe more importantly...
Maybe you'd have a choice.
And he doesn't just hint at that duality. He shouts it out on the very first track, blood. After that violent opening, the question is just laid bare. Is it wickedness? Is it weakness? You decide. It's basically the mission statement for this whole deep dive.
It really is. And this moral dualism, it defines the entire album.
Yeah.
So we should probably define these terms, at least as Kendrick seems to be using them.
Okay.
So we can define wickedness as the active moral failings. This is aggression, violence, greed, active domination.
It's the sinful actions. Wickedness is the punch, the scam, the boast.
Yep.
It's what you do that harms the world.
Exactly. And then weakness, on the other hand, is more about the internal consequences of sin. It's inaction.
So spiritual surrender.
It's characterized by fear, doubt, and this paralyzing inability to commit to any real change.
And what's so fascinating is that the album seems to argue that both of these paths, one aggressive, one passive, they just lead to the same place.
Damnation.
They're two sides of the same cursed coin.
So let's start by dissecting that path of weakness. That internal collapse that seems to prevent redemption. Kendrick really explores this in tracks like Pride and Love.
Pride it's the internal struggle personified.
Yeah.
But it's not just arrogance the way we usually think of pride. Here, pride is the weakness of paralyzing isolation.
Right. The speaker is so overwhelmed by observing this flawed, hypocritical world that instead of acting, he just withdraws.
He says it himself. I don't love people enough to put my faith in man.
That's the crucial nuance. He isn't acting. He's just judging and receding. And those famous lines, they just crystallize it all.
Love's gonna get you killed, but pride's gonna be the death of you.
It's an impossible choice.
It is. If love makes you vulnerable, then pride, which is isolation, is just suicide by inaction. It's a kind of spiritual paralysis.
He can't even fake being humble because society punishes honesty. He says, I can't fake humble just because your ass is insecure.
And that inability to move, to choose a real path, that is the weakness.
And that same kind of isolation is mirrored in love, but in a much more intimate way.
Love is about the weakness of needing external validation. The anxiety isn't about violence, it's about being forgotten, about being anonymous.
Yeah, he's asking his partner, will you still love me if I give all this up, if I stop performing success?
He lists the conditions. If didn't ride blade on curve, or if I made up my mind at work and start working at the office.
He's basically asking, is my success the only thing that makes me worthy of love?
And that dependence on what other people think, that fear of being simple and vulnerable, that's another form of weakness.
It shows that even in positive relationships, the weakness of fear and insecurity can poison everything. His love is conditional on a status that he himself finds exhausting.
Which is the subtle tragedy of the weakness path. The self-destruction is all internal, it's slow.
And now we have to turn to the other side of that coin.
The path of wickedness, the aggressive, active sin, this is where the energy just, it completely shifts.
Yes, it does. And you can't find a better example than humble and lust.
The irony of Humbly is just how aggressive it is. The title says one thing, but the track is just saturated with arrogance, with domination.
It's not a lesson in humility at all. It's a demand for subservience.
Yeah.
He's directing it at his rivals, at the whole culture.
The hypocrisy is the wickedness. He's telling everyone else, be humble, while he's asserting his own total superiority.
And the language is all about active domination. Get the fuck off my stage. I'm the Sandman.
Right. It's him using his power and his money as a right to dominate. It's the classic expression of active self-aggrandizing sin.
And you even hear it in the production. The beat is so aggressive, it's booming. It doesn't allow for reflection.
No, it forces you into submission, which mirrors the wickedness of the lyrics. It's power for power's sake.
And that active sin just flows right into LUS.
Which is about succumbing to temptation, but it's specifically about a cyclical, addictive escape.
It's not just sex. It's about this need for immediate, surface-level gratification to avoid thinking about anything deeper.
The lyrics are just this list of instant fixes. Money, scams.
Credit card scam gets you a visa.
Drugs, violence, sex. It's just a constant pursuit of stimulation to fill that moral void.
And what makes it wickedness, instead of just weakness, is the active pursuit of that escape, the perpetuation of the cycle.
And he knows it. He has that chilling realization when he says people just reverting back to our daily programs, stuck in our ways, drones.
They are actively participating in their own damnation, willingly becoming drones.
So the summary here, the album's argument, is that both these paths just feel like a trap, an absolute trap.
Whether you're paralyzed by the weakness or acting out the wickedness, the outcome is the same. Damnation.
He says it right in the middle of the album on Element. It's the ultimate dilemma.
Damned if I do, if I don't.
You're condemned by your actions and you're condemned by your inaction. And that tension, that's what sets the stage for the album's true philosophical centerpiece.
The track Fear.
Fear is, I think, the central psychological track of the whole record. It's where the wickedness versus weakness idea really manifests.
It defines the existential dread that fuels the entire cycle. It's the emotional core that drives you to either lash out in wickedness or just freeze up in weakness.
And what's so brilliant about it is how he structures it chronologically. He shows you how the curse of fear evolves across 3 ages of his life.
From an external threat to total internal decay.
It starts at age 7. And at 7, the fear is physical, it's external, it's the fear of discipline.
Yeah, he's recounting his mother's words, the threat of physical consequence. I beat your ass, you gonna fear me if you don't fear no one else.
That's the foundational fear of authority. It's the basic conditioning that shapes his entire worldview.
And that fear of consequence, it later just morphs into this profound paranoia.
By age 17, it's become the fear of fatalistic death, the systemic violence, the randomness of the streets.
This is where he feels like the world is literally rigged against him. The ultimate deterministic trap. He says, I'll probably die because these colors are standing out.
He envisions this sudden violent end, body slammed on black and white paint, my bones snapping. At 17, the world just seems designed to kill him.
Which is the sociological layer of fatalism, that the system itself guarantees your death.
And then we jump to age 27. He's achieved massive success. And the fear is now entirely internal. It's existential.
He's not afraid of a rival gang anymore. He's afraid of losing his success, his purpose, his integrity.
All this money is God playing a joke on me.
That's the peak of his dread. It's the fear of losing his creativity, losing his loyalty, of becoming the very wicked person he judges in his music.
So the fear of failure drives him toward either the weakness of isolation or the wickedness of overcompensation. It completes the cycle.
And he says it explicitly in the song. He acknowledges the dualism.
He does. He says his deepest anxiety is fear that it's wickedness or weakness. Fear, whatever it is, both is distinctive.
That is the sound of being trapped in that loop we've been talking about. He's terrified of which side he'll land on, because both seem equally destructive.
The fear is the engine, and the wickedness and weakness, that's the track he's running on.
Which brings us to the philosophical climax. The one moment that seems to offer a real, if very precarious, escape.
Duckworth, the final track in the official sequence. This song is presented as a kind of paradoxical answer to the whole question of determinism versus free will.
It's the ultimate sliding doors moment. And what makes it so powerful is that it's a true story. It grounds this whole dense philosophical argument in something real.
So we hear the story of Anthony Top Dog Tiffith, a known gangbanger who was planning to rob the KFC where Kendrick's father, Ducky, worked.
And the lyrics make it clear this was a real danger. Ducky knew they had robbed the manager and shot a customer last year. Violence felt inevitable.
But Ducky made a choice rooted in a kind of preemptive kindness. He got on Anthony's good side.
Free check-in every time Anthony posted in line.
2 extra biscuits.
A small, almost insignificant act that completely altered the trajectory of, 3 lives?
It broke the cycle. That small, consistent choice broke the cycle of fatalistic violence. Anthony recognized Ducky. He felt that positive connection.
And then let him slide. He actively chose restraint over wickedness.
And Kendrick spells it out. He shows you the alternate reality that was averted. If Anthony killed Ducky, Top Dog could be serving life.
While I grew up without a father and die in a gunfight.
So in that moment, free will triumphs. It secures life, survival, and the very existence of the artist telling us this story.
It suggests the curse is breakable. The loop can be interrupted.
And this is the ultimate twist, the thing that makes you want to put the whole album in reverse.
The album, when you play it forward, still begins with the fatal gunshot in blood.
The survival story of Duckworth is immediately followed by the death story of blood.
So Ducky's choice saved his life in the past, allowing Kendrick to exist. But the cycle of wickedness and weakness, it still closes in on Kendrick in the present.
And that blind woman confirms it, the unresolved fate. Oh yes, you have lost something. You've lost your life.
This structure, it implies that while free will is possible, Ducky proved it. Maybe it only buys you time.
You can break the cycle in one moment, but the systemic and internal forces just drag you back to that predetermined end.
So, philosophically, the album really is a perfect loop, a Mobius strip of morality and fate.
The forward ending is the path of fatalism or wickedness asserting its control.
And the reverse ending, starting with that redemption, just descends back into weakness and ends at the same violent point.
Either way, the album is saying you're damned.
So Kendrick isn't giving us an answer. He's building a question for us, for the listener to carry.
The whole thing forces you into that debate, the curse of our DNA versus the possibility of a radical redeeming choice.
Is the curse of sin and violence truly breakable? Or, as he says, is what happens on earth stays on earth? Is redemption in the past always overruled by the determinism of the present?
This has been Rhyme and Reason. We'll see you next time.